Hey everybody, Thomas Joseph here from Kitchen Conundrums, and today I'm going to show you something special. It's more of a DIY than a kitchen conundrum, but I think you're really going to like it because it's so popular these days, and that is cold brew coffee. You can make it at home, and you only need coffee, water, and a coffee filter, and maybe a strainer. I'm going to use a scale here. Take your container like this, and I'm just going to zero out my vessel, and what that means is that it's negating the weight of the vessel itself so that I can measure my coffee, which is the most important ingredient in making cold brew coffee. Now, when you're shopping coffee, make sure that you look for a lighter roast, preferably an African roast. I'm using an Ethiopian origin bean. You don't want something that's too darkly roasted, otherwise you're gonna end up with a bitter cold brew. So I'm gonna measure out a half a pound of coffee into the base of my container here. What you need is a coarse ground coffee, similar to what you would use for a French press. So I need 8 ounces of coffee to start, and to that I'm going to add 6 cups of cold water. And we're gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes, and what that does is it allows the coffee grounds to absorb all of the water. We're only doing half of the batch right now because doing this in 2 stages really helps to get that steeping process together. So I'm gonna let this mixture sit for about 5 minutes room temperature, and then I'll be ready to add the rest of the water. Now I'm going to add the rest of the coffee, that last half pound, and the remaining 3 cups of water. So for a pound of coffee, I'm using 9 cups of water, and that will yield you, in the end, about 1.5 to 2 quarts of cold brew coffee. Cold brew coffee, why is it so popular these days? Well, actually, cold brew coffee has been popular for a very long time. It's been popular in Kyoto, Japan since the 1600s, so cold brew isn't something new. Now, I'm just giving this a quick mix. Cold brew should take anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, 12 hours if you're gonna let it sit overnight at room temperature, or 24 hours if you're going to put it in the refrigerator. I prefer doing this in the refrigerator because that slow, long process with colder temperatures really helps to bring out the natural aromas in the coffee without extracting the bitterness and the acidity that you would normally get if you brewed coffee with hot water. So I'm going to cover this up, let it sit, and then it's time to strain. So our coffee has been soaking for 24 hours in the refrigerator, and you can see that it kind of settles down and compacts itself a little bit. And now for the first strain. Now, using a fine mesh sieve, pour your coffee into the sieve set over a bowl, or I have a measuring cup, and let this drain until all of that cold brew coffee drips out of the grounds. So the coffee grounds have been sitting for about 2 to 3 minutes. Don't press down on the grounds because you don't want to extract any of those bitter compounds. So do not press. I'm just going to move this over here. And now to strain this one more time, and I like to use a coffee filter. One little trick here, if you're straining something and you need to get out the fine sediment and you don't want any of the liquid to actually absorb into whatever you're straining it through, is to use a little bit of water and pre-wet your cheesecloth, your paper towel, or in this case, your coffee filter, and none of your delicious cold brew will absorb into your filter. It'll go straight through, and it will yield you just a little bit more cold brew coffee. So, just going to line a sieve here, and now I'm going to strain one more time, and this gets out all of the fine sediment so that you have a cold brew concentrate that's free of any fine particles. This will take about 5 to 10 minutes to fully drain, and then we're ready to serve the cold brew coffee. So you can see that all of this chalky sediment is left behind. So it's imperative that you strain your cold brew coffee twice. The great thing about cold brew coffee is that you dilute it. So you're going to double the volume and double your yield. So I have 3 cups of cold brew. I'm gonna go into a nice pitcher here. In the concentrate form, your cold brew coffee can stay in an airtight container for about 2 weeks, but I'm going to make a big batch of cold brew today. So 3 cups of coffee concentrate, 3 cups of water. If you like something that's a little bit richer in body and flavor, you could also dilute this with an equal portion of milk if you'd like. I am going to serve this cold brew up over some ice, and the great thing about cold brew coffee is that you really don't even need to sweeten it because the extraction process gives you a caramelly, chocolatey flavor and there are no bitter compounds, so there's really no need for sugar. So there you have it, a simple and easy way to DIY cold brew coffee. I'm sure you're gonna be making this all summer long. Enjoy.